So it is time to take a look at one of the more interesting vehicles in the game. One vehicle that is probably a favorite for a lot of players, and I am talking about the T95, or also known as the DooM Turtle. Now, that thing, this is a very interesting platoon because there's only two rank 6 platoons, which I find that pretty interesting within the rank that is. So there's definitely room for improvement. Now the DooM Turtle has a 105mm main gun. It is obviously slow. 13 km/h is the top speed. Reverse 4 km/h speed. City power is 6 horsepower. It weighs 86 tons. Average penetration 256mm. Reload is 15.4 seconds. Turret rotation speed is 10 degrees per second. The armor on this thing is very impressive. I mean, it did deserve the nickname DooM Turtle for a very specific reason. This thing is heavily armored, but it does have some weak spots. The frontal plate is basically flat, so any APDS, HEATFS shell will go in, and the cupolas are basically magnets for high caliber HE shells. Despite this thing having very tough armor, you can get overpressured if you get hit in one of the cupolas on top of the vehicle, which is, I would say, the largest drawback for this tank. Of course, one other unique feature of this vehicle, it has 4 tracks, 2 on each side, in order to support the extreme weight, and this tank is also quite low profile. It's very wide. One of the, I guess, nicknames, DooM Turtle, comes from the sheer size, speed, and overall feel of the tank. So let's take this thing for a ride and let's see how the DooM Turtle will work. If I remember correctly, this thing actually has 2 engines, which we can see 2 of these engine blocks side by side, which is very interesting. This is a very heavily armored vehicle, and I think a couple of them have been produced. And if you were to stand next to this thing, it's huge. These things are just enormous. It's one thing to see these tanks and these tank shores on a game. It's a whole different story when you get to see them in real life. You would actually get to experience the size of these things. They're really big. And that's the first kill. Surprising ammo detonation. I did not expect that from the Yak Tiger there. Now, one thing that is not really, well, let's say, good about this vehicle is the ammo. You get APCR, and the moment I saw APCR, I just said, oh no, I am in trouble. Because if you have been playing War Thunder for a very long time, you know that APCR is quite the unreliable shell. It can penetrate, but it can't do any damage. Although this is a very good gun. Thankfully, the APC-BC ammo that you get, default basically, is more than enough to get the job done. So you should be doing really good with the APC-BC. I have APC-BC in high explosive basically. I don't use APCR, and I don't plan to use APCR. That ammo is bad. Well, when I say bad, when it penetrates, it kills one crew member, and that's about it. It doesn't do a lot of damage when it goes in, so yeah, very unreliable if you ask me. And that's a terrible bombing run. That was one of my worst bombing runs ever, I believe. Now this vehicle is very slow, so you will obviously not be on the front lines with it that easily. The speed means that you should be relying on sniping. It has a very decently accurate gun, I would say. And the speed of the vehicle means that you are obviously not going to be going anywhere. So my recommendation is to find a good spot in opening basically, and take your armor as a big advantage, since while the vehicle does have weak spots, the weak spots are small and at a long distance kind of difficult to hit, so you do have that advantage of the weak spots being small and the whole thing being low profile, so you can easily just snipe with this tank. It works really well. Of course, this vehicle is also a repair simulator. Oh, look at that cute Route 251. Try to use the engine as cover. Well, that did not work, obviously. That did not work. And the machine gun, this thing is also really good, really solid. Able to penetrate SPAAs and lightly armored tanks. So it does work really well in that aspect. And we have to be careful around bombers. When I say snipe, make sure that you also do have some cover and of course room for maneuvering, since bombers will love the tank. Bombers are like the #1 enemy for this vehicle. Bombers and maybe ATGMs, but you will not see many ATGMs with this tier, with this rank. And if you do, you can easily shoot them down with the machine gun, so in the end it's honestly not a big problem. And that tank tried to shoot at my commander's hatch at the cupola, but yeah, that did not work. That's basically the largest like weak spot on this vehicle. The flat frontal armor can be penetrated by the T94, and as I mentioned before, HE-ATFS shells, missiles, ATGMs, they can go through, but it's quite tough to hit the frontal, but especially since the gun breach, the gun has that huge frontal thing there, not the muzzle, but right near the hull, right? You have this huge thing, I think that's the gun breach, and that can take hits. That is also heavily armored, so when it comes to armor, this thing is covered from all sides. Now, the side armor can be quite the troll, I guess. When you shoot the T95 from the side, don't shoot like in the tracks. It has dual tracks, it's huge, it's wide, and the tracks kind of act like spaced armor in a way, so you want to shoot the upper section of the hull. Don't shoot the flat side, shoot the upper section in the hull. That's where the crew compartment is, and that's where the ammo is stored as well, so you want to hit the vehicle there in order to ensure to kill it. Also, I love how the projectile, right, the shell, is stored separately from the explosive. If you look at the X-ray of the vehicle, you will see that the ammo, like the shell, is stored separately from the charge. And I find that a very nice touch. That's very interesting, because that's how it was supposed to be actually stored on the T95. Now, one drawback of the APC BCE is that it's a solid shell. It doesn't have any explosive charging, so you will not have that secondary explosion when the shell penetrates, which means that you will have to spend some time shooting at some of the vehicles. For example, if I was in the T29, which has the explosive APC-BC, the Tiger there would be destroyed. And now we have a T54. I missed. I was aiming at the side armor, but I missed. Now they show the side armor. So while the ammo is obviously not as good as the ammo on the T29, for example, it is still better than using APCR. APCR is unreliable, and honestly, I'd rather use APC-BC than APCR. even if it's the like default APC BC, I'll be using that over the APCR because it's much more reliable and just works. As I mentioned before, this vehicle can be quite tough to break. I mean, it's a T95 in the end, and the T95 is known to have incredible armor. I mean, it got the nickname Doom Turtle for a reason. And somehow that did not do any damage. Okay, fair enough. It doesn't look that good for our team though. I think we are going to lose this match unless we do some epic carry moment. And as I mentioned, this tank will be a repair simulator because your tracks will be destroyed, the gun will be destroyed, the machine gun turret will be destroyed over and over and over again, and you also will get bombed as well. So overall, that's why this tank is a repair simulator, because you will be repairing a lot driving this thing. One good thing though is that this thing actually is fairly maneuverable when it comes to moving left and right. When I looked at the vehicle, when I bought it for the first time, I did not really expect this to be that agile. I really expected it to be very slow, but when it is slow when it goes forward and backwards, but it does rotate very quickly, and it can spin very quickly. And I really love the fact that you can do that. Means that you can wiggle the whole hole, making the tank much easier to hit. And of course, I mean easier to hit, much harder to hit the weak spots as well. So that's what I was trying to say here. So the main drawback of the T95 is ammo. It gets APCR and APC-BC and an air explosive, which is not necessarily bad, but the T29 and the Chonk, the M6, A2, E1 have better ammo, and honestly, explosive APC-BC is much more reliable than the solid shot APC-BC. That secondary damage when it penetrates, when it explodes, just ensures that the target is destroyed. So that's like the main drawback of the vehicle. I do like the Doom Turtle. I would say it is a very interesting vehicle for sure. It's a very pleasant experience driving it, honestly. Didn't think that I would enjoy this tank, but I was wrong. I seriously do like driving this thing around. It is a unique feeling. You think that the mouse is the slowest, right? You would actually be surprised, but the mouse does have the slowest acceleration for sure. This thing somehow feels more maneuverable and much easier to drive around than the mouse. The mouse is just extremely slow. The mouse is just extremely slow and surprisingly more maneuverable than the mouse, although it doesn't have the top speed the mouse has, but you know, it still is slow. And that was a very interesting match indeed. Let's go to the next one. Now, as I mentioned before, this vehicle is very slow, so you need to kind of spawn, and basically we are forced to go to the closest point possible, because if you don't do that, well, you will spend the whole match driving around trying to get anywhere. And of course, with 13 km/h you will not go far, so you really have to go directly into the war zone. Kind of what this thing was meant to do from the very start. Of course, you will probably notice that my aiming here, I could have just shot the lower plate, but I didn't, because I got used to the explosive APC-BC. And I did make a little mistake here. I was driving the vehicle as the T29. Basically, with explosive ammo, You can aim at the turrets, basically aim anywhere near the crew compartment, and if the shell penetrates, it will explode, it will cripple the tank. In most cases, it will destroy the tank. With the solid shells, it's not really as simple because, as you can see there, right next to the ammo storage, I did penetrate the tank, but it doesn't have the secondary post-penetrating damage, doesn't have the secondary explosion, and it did not set off the ammo of the tank. Doesn't mean that you can't kill in one hit. You can. It does kill in one hit. It just works a little bit differently from the explosive APC-BC, which honestly, explosive ammo, explosive AP ammo is really fun to use, and it is very reliable, much more reliable than those solid shots, with the exception of APFSDS darts. The darts are still the most powerful ammo type that we have in the game at the moment, of course. So now you might be wondering, why did I just yeet the bomber? Well, I saw a tank in our base, basically, so I did not want to risk being flanked. The tortoise, yeah, the tortoise is the turtle, right? And this is the Doom turtle. There we have two turtles in the game, or the toothless players like to call it as well. I saw this tank, so I had to quickly crash the bomber and, well, kill the tank that's in the base because the team didn't kill it. So if the team doesn't kill it, I have. Now what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the rear armor of the vehicle obviously is not good, so you must not get flanked. Keep all the enemies in front of the tank. If you get flanked, you are dead, because again, this tank, while being heavily armored, the side and rear can be penetrated easily by the vast majority of vehicles in the tier, so that's one thing that you should keep in mind while driving the Doom turtle around. Of course, I am doing the opposite of what I just said. I'm basically going in the middle, but I have to because the team isn't doing it. The team isn't doing the job, so I have to. I mean, not exactly not doing the job, just, you know. Actually, I think they're doing pretty well. Yeah, the enemy is no longer capturing Zone A, and this is kind of the thing with the Doom turtle here. Alright, well, that was it for today with the Doom turtle. I'll definitely be playing this tank a lot more because it's just very fun, and it is a vehicle that I really enjoy driving around. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.